So Trump won.
Great that you could be with us on this historic day in American
celebrating
politics.
perhaps the greatest political.
Donald Trump will become the 47th
Donald Trump has won
of Wisconsin. Now, former President Trump will win the state.
But the only people who are surprised are those who weren't paying attention. Trump took what was considered an unorthodox approach to his campaign, but after watching this video, you'll see why it will become the norm for every future election. And apparently Trump owes the credit to his 19-year-old son, Barron, so I guess somebody from Harris's team should have consulted with a Gen Z. But I'm going to show you why podcasts were the primary reason Trump won, and how Kamala lost herself the election by taking the wrong approach to them. A ton of people hate Trump. It just is what it is. He's easily the most polarizing person on the planet. Either way, people have such strong opinions on them, and most of people's opinions are less about him as a politician and more about him as a person. And negative headlines about him do really well online. So he had no chance winning in traditional media. He had become rage bait for media outlets that people used for clicks. And this worked really well. People clicked this content. So they were incentivized to continue to do it. So he had to find another way to reach these people and counteract all that negative press. And he had to do this enough to reach and convince the people on the fence to vote for him.
Whether you love me or hate me, you gotta vote for me.
This election wasn't about the supporters of either side. They both already had those very locked up. Going after them really would have been pointless, and Trump's team saw that. This election all came down to the group in the middle. And in a world of 6-second attention spans and headline skimming, the perfect and only antidote to this was podcasts. Podcasts are long form, unedited, and not based on headlines. Everyone listening gets full context on the situation, meaning nothing can be taken out of context or sensationalized. And for someone who says a lot of crazy shit,
So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe. Maybe
You
that's
said a lot of wild shit,
Maybe
and then
that's-
CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
this was super valuable for Trump. The added benefit of long-form content is how different it is to how most people interact with presidential candidates. Normally, it's all just polarizing headlines without much context. This huge contrast allowed people to see Trump as a person and not just the villain that a lot of people had made him out to be. It's like when someone you hate goes out of their way to say something nice or apologize, just do something to catch you off guard. It makes you step back and completely adjust how you see the person, or at least think about adjusting it. And that's all you really need for someone on the fence. And this long form content also gave a ton of ammunition for his diehard fans to use in arguments online for those against him, allowing people on the fence who are just watching in the background to get a lot more solid points in favor of Trump. People are tired of gotcha news and fake headlines on both sides, and they crave the realness that only long-form, unedited, and unscripted content can really provide. Now let's talk about Kamala. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person.
She too went on podcasts, but her team screwed up the approach big time. She only appeared on shows whose audience she had all but locked up already. These people were already going to vote for her, so speaking to them again was really just wasted time. And she also refused to do the long-form content style that Trump's team decided to do. Most of her interviews were around 45 minutes, which really limited the effectiveness that long-form content can have to change opinions. So not only did she not go on the largest show in the world, the Joe Rogan Experience, even though she did have the opportunity, but the shorter interviews that she demanded really limited their effectiveness on the shows that she did go on. And Joe Rogan did offer her to come on her platform, and it's the largest show in the world, with more viewership than most of the major news outlets combined. But it fell through due to her list of demands. And here is a direct quote from Joe talking about it. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin, Rogan said in a statement on X, but it never happened. So obviously this wasn't a major priority. If they really wanted to do it, it would have happened. So Harris's team really did not understand the assignment here. Podcasts are popular because they provide more authenticity and vulnerability than other forms of content. So having a list of unreasonable demands for a podcast is almost an oxymoron. It makes no sense, and it limits what they could do for her. You can't get the benefit of people thinking you're genuine while having a list of demands that makes seeing that nearly impossible. And most of the people who didn't like her, their main point was that she was fake, inauthentic, or untrustworthy.
I love you back. I love you back. Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. Thank a union member. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Hello, everybody. Oh, it's wonderful to be in Jacksonville. Duval. Us in government, we campaign with the plan. uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan.
And how she handled this exact situation just gave them even more ammunition to spread that online, whether it was true or false. Since this election was so polarizing, the extreme people on both sides were not even involved in this, so she really had nothing to lose by going on a show that was even mostly her non-voting audience. Most of Joe Rogan's fans aren't going to vote for her anyways, but getting the ones that might was the whole point of going on any show. She screwed up here big time, and don't just take my word for it. Here is former presidential candidate Andrew Yang talking about how she blew it.
100%, Courtney, because if you think about that audience, you're talking about millions, tens of millions of mostly men. And it was almost entirely going to be upside for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. I mean, those were not naturally going to be her voters. By the way, it was also a very bad look that they didn't go on, because then there were at least some voters like, what are they hiding? He's the #1 podcaster. He's got the biggest audience. In my opinion, it was political malpractice for them not to go on Joe Rogan.
In anything, numbers don't lie. It doesn't take a genius to see that podcasts are the most influential form of content out there. Not only do they swing entire elections, but companies invest tens of millions of dollars just to secure exclusive rights to established shows. How else would companies be able to justify spending this much money? The trust and authority that podcasters have over their audience lead to big decisions. There are examples all over the place of this, but one shows it better than I could ever do myself, and that comes from skateboarding legend Rob Dyrdek talking about the impact that one ad campaign on the Huberman Labs podcast had for his luxury supplement brand.
I think the supplement industry is notoriously dirty. How did you actually go about creating the cleanest supplement?
The people who helped develop it, right, were all like trainers for the 49ers and the Celtics, right? The product backed that up. We never found that level of media that could validate it to reach a large enough consumer base that would be willing to pay that extra amount of money until Huberman said to that audience.
That was probably just a straight cash deal when you guys bought that ad spot, I would imagine, right?
I'm not entirely sure what his deal is. But whatever it is, he got underpaid. Whatever it is, it was too little.
Podcasts build know, like, and trust better than any other kind of content. Big time decisions are influenced by podcasts, plain and simple. 2025 is the year of the podcast. It literally decided the president of the United States. If that doesn't sell you on why you need a podcast, I don't know what will. If you do want to start and grow your own show, join our free newsletter and subscribe to the channel to see our 2025 How to Start a Podcast course coming to YouTube soon.